You can watch the video on how we made Monterey Jack cheese. The recipe will be at the end. So a few of the things you'll need a mesophilic culture we'll use with the cheese. You need some calcium chloride, some animal rennet. And then with those items, you're going to also need something to measure with, 1/8 and 1/4 tablespoon measurements. You'll need some cups, probably 1/4 and 1/2 cup size would be all you need. You need some cheese salt. This is non-iodized salt. Sea salt will work. And you need some molds. You can use a square mold, as you see here, or you can use a round mold, as you see back behind. I'm actually going to use both. You need a large cup to scoop off the whey, and you'll need a colander to be able to drain the whey off, the curds. And then besides that, you'll need a spoon to stir. You need some kind of knife to be able to cut the cheese. And of course, you'll need a big pot to be able to put the milk in and heat it up. You're going to heat the milk to 90 degrees, and at that point, you're going to add some calcium chloride and the culture and let it sit until it lactates. After the culture has changed the milk sugar to lactic acid, we're going to stir it, and then we're going to add in the animal rennet, and that's what's going to make the milk curd. And once we add it, we'll stop stirring. We'll just let it sit for about 45 minutes. All this detail will be in the recipe. After about 40 to 50 minutes, the milk will have formed a curd, and you can do a break test like this. Stick your finger into the milk, lift it up a little, and you should see the curds pull away. So you know now it's ready to be cut. So that's the next step. We'll take a long knife or something like that, and we'll begin to slice the curd, doing it in about 1/2 inch intervals. It's not critical. We do it at a 45-degree angle so that we can get the cuts all the way across. When we come back the other way, that'll make it in small pieces. If you did it up and down, we just have a vertical stack of curd. So we go both ways, and then after we've gone both ways in back and forth in one direction, then we'll do the other side. So we actually do 4 cuts to finish the process. The next step after the curds are cut is to stir them, and we begin raising the temperature up towards 100 degrees. We want to do this over about a 30-minute period. So you're going to be stirring for about 30 minutes. You don't have to stir continually. Stir off and on just to keep the curds from matting together. This is 10 minutes since we started stirring, and you can see the whey has formed on the top. So we come back every once in a while and we stir it again. And this is the most time-consuming part, is stirring the curds. Again, as we stir, they'll get smaller, and the heat will also make them smaller. We have 4 minutes left of the 30 minutes, and you can see that we're approaching 100 degrees, which is what we're trying to get to in 30 minutes. We continue to stir to keep the curds from matting together. With just a minute left, we see now that the curds are considerably smaller. There's a lot of whey on top. We're at our 100 degrees, and we're just about where we need to be. Now we're at the point where we can take the cup and scoop the whey carefully out and put it in another pot. We're going to take the whey until it's just above the curds. Take as much off as we can. Oh, we have most of the way off now. You can see that there's just a little way in there. We got quite a good size amount away from it. Now we're going to keep it at that temperature for 30 minutes, and about every 5 minutes we're going to stir it, just again to keep the cheese from clumping together. After that's finished, we're ready to, the 30 minutes is up, we're ready to pour the whey that's left in the curds into a colander and collect the curds. Now before we get our hands in with the cheese, we want to wash them in white vinegar. This stops any mold bacteria from our hands causing mold on the cheese. It's an important step. Next step is going to be to salt the cheese. That's why we've got our hands clean. And then we're going to put the curds into a mold. We're going to use a square mold as one of the molds, and we're also going to use a round mold. We're going to make a plain cheese, and we're also going to make a cheese that has some almonds in it. Here you see the almonds that I've crushed ready to put in the cheese. We're ready to salt the cheese. We're going to take a tablespoon of non-iodized salt and sprinkle it over the cheese. And then we're going to mix it with our hands, which is the reason we put the white vinegar on our hands. We'll do this actually 2 more times so that we have 3 tablespoons of salt in the cheese. Here you can see we put the cheesecloth in the molds, ready to receive the curds. Curds have drained well and they've been salted, so they're ready to put into the mold. The first mold, the round mold, we're going to do with just plain cheese. We'll use about half of the cheese for that mold. And then the second mold, we'll make the almond cheese. So you want to put the cheese in, just press it down a little bit, even it around. And then you put the follower, which is what the lid is called, onto the cheese. And we're going to press it with 5 pounds. You can use a press or you can find something that weighs 5 pounds. In this case I have something that weighs 5 pounds, and I also have a press for the second one, so you'll see both. Here we're going to make an almond flavor to pour with the cheese, so we use some almond extract, and we'll take 2 tablespoons and dilute it into a half a cup of water. And then we're going to simply pour it over the cheese, trying to hit as many curds as possible. For a stronger flavor, you could put the curds back into a pan and soak it in the almond liquid, but we're just going to pour it over for this one because we're going to put some nuts in with it, and the nuts will help add to the flavor. Now we'll add some almond nuts that we'd crushed up into the cheese and mix it in well, and then be ready to pack it into the square mold, and we'll have 2 molds of cheese, 1 plain and 1 almond flavored. Cheese has been pressed in the mold for 15 minutes with 5 pounds. In one case I used a hammer, in another case I used a cheese press. And now we need to take both of the cheeses and turn them over. And once we've turned them over, we'll drain the whey off and turn them over. We will put 10 pounds on them and press them with 10 pounds for about 12 hours. So you want to lift the cheesecloth out. You can't take the cheese out of the cloth. It's will still be too crumbly. So I want to actually take the cloth and the cheese in it and simply turn it over. We've checked it to see that the cheese looks all right. Now we're just going to turn it over on the plate and put a 10-pound weight on it. We're going to do the same thing now with the round mold, which has the plain cheese in it. Turn it over, leave the cheesecloth on it, and we'll turn it over and then set the press to press at 10 pounds. They're going to press at 10 pounds for 12 hours, so I'm just going to set them on the table and wait till the time is up. When the 12 hours is up and we take it out, we can use a rack from the stove like this with a cheesecloth on it to set them on. Here are the cheeses. The first one on the right is the cheese with the crushed almonds in it, Monterey Jack with almonds, and the plain cheese. The recipe follows, and you can stop the recipe and copy it down. Hope you enjoyed the video.